And let's start with the latest news on the Yankees, Jack, as we always do. Is anything happening with the thought that Michael Morse, in some way, shape, or form, could join the Yankees?
Well, it's on hold right now, Bob. The Yankees have made contact with the Washington Nationals about Morse, and this is a guy who is now free and available because the Nationals re-signed Adam LaRoche. They don't have any place to put this guy. He would fit into the description of what the Yankees are looking for, a right-handed power hitter, a guy who could give you a little bit of heft in the lineup. But here's what's happened. The LaRoche signing is not official, so until he passes his physical and everything is done with that, they have told the Yankees, we're not really talking right now. We're not ready to trade with him. The Yankees have said, when you are, please make sure that you get back to us. This is a guy they're interested in.
And it's a situation where it could potentially be doable because you look in 2013, under $7 million, contract done after that. So something that the Yankees would probably take a flyer on there. But aside from that, how are they going to acquire this guy? Who are they going to be willing to give up to get this guy? Because you look at the roster the way it's constituted right now, with the injuries they've suffered, they're not really able to deal anyone on that major league roster. And then you look down in the farm system and say, who are they willing to part with there for a guy like a Morse?
It's a great question because a lot of teams are going to play that poker game. You know, they're going to say, well, we're not giving up much. He's going to be a free agent after 2013 anyway, but the Nats want as much as they can get.
Well, the Nationals are in a great spot right now. They have a power-hitting right-handed bat, which the Yankees badly need, and they can basically say, we want Boone Logan, maybe some minor league players. The minor league system for the Yankees is not stocked right now. I just don't see how this deal really gets done that easily, although the Yankees still craving that right-handed bat they could put in maybe in right field and a little DH.
Right, and Mike Rizzo, the Nationals GM, he said he wants impact players back. Now, every general manager is going to say that, but for a guy who's a one-year rental, I don't think you're going to get that. He's also a guy who's a free swinger. He strikes out a lot, and he really can't play defense. He's a DH. But I still think there are going to be enough teams out there that need offense, and in a very slim market for right-handed power hitters right now, Morse is the guy who's at the top of the list.
Jack, just a quick PS to this conversation in talking to Cashman. Is he satisfied right now with where the Yankees are at?
Cashman loved what they did at the start of the offseason, be able to get all those pitchers back. You add your number 2 in Kuroda, your number 3 in Pettit. You get Rivera back. We've talked about it on this show. Where would the Yankees be if they didn't bring those 3 guys back? But he did talk about how there were some guys, and we see the key offseason signings, that did slip through the cracks. The Russell Martins, the Chavezes, the Ibanez, other things that would have made the Yankees better right now that they weren't able to do. Hal Steinbrenner was quoted at the owners' meetings today saying they're not done. They want to add another bat. That's what Cashman's trying to do.
And when people look at the roster, they might say, Meredith, well, it's status quo. But imagine if Mariano wasn't back, Andy Pettit and Kuroda weren't back. Suddenly there'd be some gaping holes to fill.
Some huge holes, but there are still a lot of question marks when you look at that roster and those guys coming off of injuries like Mariano Rivera. What are you going to get from him? He said himself, not 100% yet. So once he does finally get on the mound, is he going to be the old Mariano, or is he going to be a guy that takes a couple months to shake the rust off and get back to where he was? Will he ever get back to where he was? Plus, you have the Alex Rodriguez injury, the Derek Jeter injury, and then the question marks as far as the position players on top of that. So this thing isn't guaranteed by any means for the Yankees, but you look at who they have and the track records of the guys that they have coming back, and you have to feel pretty good.
Having caught Pettit and Mo, do you have any doubt that they'll come back and be major contributors?
You know, Mariano, I have no doubt he's going to be a major contributor. I mean, the guy's been a Hall of Famer, obviously the best closer in baseball. Andy Pettit, you got to be a little concerned. His legs have not been able to hold up for him last year, and he's always had some groin problems in the past. He might be more of a concern, but now he has a whole offseason to get ready for spring training. You assume he's going to be in peak physical condition. He always is, and you assume that the legs are going to be healthy and ready to go.
Beyond those guys, are there any big question marks for a player or two in your mind?
I don't know if they're question marks. I look at opportunities for 2 guys in particular. Brett Gardner and Phil Hughes have opportunities to really make a big-time impact. If you think about Brett Gardner's career, what has he done for the Yankees? Do the Yankees really know what he is right now at this point in his career? Is he an everyday guy? Is he a leadoff guy? Can he steal bases at will? I think they need to find that out this year. He has a great opportunity to be an everyday player and be a very productive player.
I think when you look at the 2013 Yankees, and if the Yankees are trying to find places where they can get better, you hit the nail on the head. They didn't have Brett Gardner at all last season. And some fans might want to criticize him, but I think Gardner is a big part of what makes that offense go, the ability to steal bases. He's the best defensive left fielder in baseball. So when you start talking about how do they match those 95 wins, is this team ever going to win 95 games again as it did last year? Well, a guy like Gardner in there is part of it. And I also think Hughes, with free agency looming, I think he's going to have a great year.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Phil Hughes. Could be a major contributor, especially with the uncertainty of Ivan Nova. What can David Phelps give them? To me, they're question marks. And in a way, Meredith, so is Hughes. He's got to really have that big step-up year.
And the thing that's so frustrating about Phil Hughes, you look at him and he has the talent. You see it in glimpses throughout the course of the season, but it's been the consistency for him. And, you know, when he attacks the strike zone and he really goes after hitters, that's when he's successful. But when he starts throwing some off-speed stuff and falling in love with that cutter that he did early in the season, that's when he ran into a little bit of trouble. He did abandon that later, but when he can pound the strike zone and throw strikes, he's in good shape. But can he do that? That's the question.
You bring up a great point about getting rid of the cutter, because I feel like Phil Hughes got better in the second half when it was more slider, curveball, fastball. But we saw Russell Martin in that video catching Phil Hughes. Who's going to be behind the plate, massaging him through a game through 6 or 7 innings? He's a guy who needs a catcher to take charge of his pitch selection. It's going to be interesting to see who that catcher is.
Who is it? You're the former catcher. Who is out of those 3 guys going into spring training? How's your depth chart?
Well,
left?
you talk to Brian Cashman on your cell phone a lot more than I do, so you probably have a better answer to that question. But February 12th is coming up. Pitchers and catchers are reporting to spring training, and those 3 guys on that screen have a great opportunity to not only have a great season, but change their careers. Will Cervelli be the guy to get the everyday playing time at the beginning of the year? I think he can do it. He's not going to hit a whole lot for you. I worry that he sprayed the ball around, throwing a little bit to the bases in his recent big league career. Romine is the guy I think has a bright future, and Chris Stewart's more of a backup guy. But those 3 players have an incredible opportunity come February 12th.
I think one thing you have to look at from the catching perspective, right off the bat, Stewart is on the team. He's probably the backup, but Stewart doesn't have any options. Cervelli and Romine have options, so they have the ability to send these guys back down to the minor leagues. I think the Yankees would love for Austin Romine to come into spring training and absolutely blow their doors off. Have a great spring training so that they have to give him the starting job and let him learn with Stewart right behind him.
And look, they like him defensively already. It's offensively that they think, this guy might not be there yet. But I still look at that roster 1 through 9 and I say, do you really need the offense from that spot? Don't you go defensive catcher, especially a young guy like that? You know what you're getting with Cervelli already, and that's not a knock against Cervelli. It's just the fact that if this guy's close, don't you go with him, see what you get, and if it doesn't work out, go another direction instead of going the other way around?